When I first walked onto the floor of the bucket shops in Boston, I was just 14 years old. 14. Still wet behind the ears, thinking I had the whole market figured out because I could read the tape faster than most grown men. I'd made a few $100s, thought I was invincible, thought discipline was something other people needed. The kind of people who weren't as smart as me, who couldn't see the patterns I saw dancing across that ticker tape like poetry in motion. Let me tell you something right now before we go any further. If you're sitting there watching this, and you've got ambition burning in your chest like a furnace, but you can't seem to stick to a plan for more than 3 trades, you're not alone. In fact, you're exactly where I was. And that's both the best news and the worst news you'll hear today. The worst news? Your ambition without discipline is going to cost you. It's going to cost you money, yes, but more than that, it's going to cost you time, confidence, and maybe even your dream of making it in this game. I've seen men, brilliant men who could calculate probabilities in their heads faster than you could write them down, completely wash out of trading, not because they were stupid, not because they didn't understand markets, but because they couldn't control themselves. The best news? You can fix this. I did. And if a stubborn, hard-headed kid from Massachusetts who lost everything multiple times could figure it out, so can you. See, here's what nobody tells you about trading. They'll give you strategies, indicators, chart patterns, all sorts of technical wizardry. And sure, that stuff matters. But it's like giving someone the finest tools in the world and not teaching them patience. You'll just make a mess faster. The real battle, the one that separates the men who make fortunes from the men who blow up their accounts, happens right between your ears. I learned this lesson the hard way. Made my first real money at 15. By 16, I was banned from nearly every bucket shop in Boston because I was winning too consistently. You'd think that would teach me discipline, right? Wrong. It taught me arrogance. I took that arrogance to New York, and the market promptly handed me my head on a silver platter. Wiped out. Completely cleaned out. And here's the thing that crushed me more than losing the money. I knew better. Deep down, I knew I was overtrading. I knew I was forcing positions that weren't there. I knew I was letting my emotions drive my decisions. But knowing and doing are 2 different universes, separated by a chasm called discipline. So what did I do? I could have quit. Lord knows I had every excuse to walk away. But there was this fire in me, this burning need to prove that I could beat this game. Not just beat it with luck or timing, but beat it with skill, with method, with something I could repeat over and over again. I started keeping a record. Every single trade. Not just what I bought or sold, but why. What was I feeling? What was the market telling me? Was I following my plan, or was I improvising? And let me tell you, when you start writing down the truth about your trading, you can't hide from yourself anymore. You see patterns, not market patterns, patterns in your behavior. I noticed I'd make my worst trades right after my best ones. Pride. I'd get cocky after a big win and think I could bend the rules. Or I'd make desperate trades after losses, trying to make it all back in one shot. Revenge trading, they call it now. I called it stupidity, but I kept doing it anyway. The turning point came when I realized something fundamental about markets. They don't care about your ambition. They don't care about your bills, your dreams, your ego, or your desperation. The market is like the ocean. It moves according to forces much larger than any individual. You can't force the ocean to give you waves. You have to wait for them. That's when I developed what I call the waiting system. It's simple in concept, but brutal in execution. I would only trade when all my conditions were met. Not most of them, all of them. The market trend had to be clear. The stock had to be behaving right. The timing had to be perfect. And most importantly, my mind had to be clear, free from emotion, free from desperation. Do you know how hard it is to sit on your hands when you're ambitious? When every fiber of your being is screaming at you to do something, to make something happen, to prove yourself. It's torture. But that torture is the price of admission to the big leagues. I started treating trading like a business, not a game. A business has rules, procedures, risk management, You don't see a successful businessman betting his entire inventory on a hunch. But traders do it every day. They call it going all in or high conviction. I call it suicide. Here's what I want you to understand, and I mean really understand this down in your bones. Your ambition is not your enemy. It's the fuel. But undisciplined ambition is like gasoline without an engine. It just burns everything up and creates a lot of smoke. You need to build the engine. That engine is your trading system, your rules, your discipline. And building that engine starts with one simple question. What are you willing to give up to become the trader you want to be? Are you willing to give up the excitement of constant action? Are you willing to give up the need to be right all the time? Are you willing to give up your ego's demand for immediate gratification? Because, I'll tell you something else I learned. The market will teach you these lessons one way or another. You can learn them the easy way, by studying, by practicing discipline, by building good habits. Or you can learn them the hard way, by losing money, by blowing up accounts, by watching opportunities slip through your fingers because you couldn't control yourself. I chose the hard way first, and it cost me years and fortunes. But eventually, I learned. And once I learned, I never went back. Because once you taste real success, the kind that comes from disciplined execution rather than lucky breaks, you can't settle for anything less. So let's talk about the practical side of this. You're ambitious but undisciplined. What do you actually do about it? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Right now. First, you need to understand that discipline isn't some mystical quality that some people are born with and others aren't. It's a skill, like reading the tape or analyzing a chart. And like any skill, you build it through repetition, small actions, repeated consistently, until they become automatic. I started with what I called the 3 rules. Simple rules that even an undisciplined fool like me couldn't mess up. Rule 1. Never risk more than 10% of my capital on any single trade. Rule 2. Always use a stop loss. No exceptions, no excuses. Rule 3. Never add to a losing position. You might be thinking, Jesse, those are basic. Everyone knows that. You're right. Everyone knows it. But how many people actually do it? How many times have you told yourself you'd use a stop loss, then moved it down because you were sure the stock would come back? How many times have you averaged down on a loser, throwing good money after bad? Knowing what to do and doing it are separated by that word again, discipline. But here's the secret that most people miss. You can't build discipline by trying to be disciplined everywhere all at once. That's like trying to lift the heaviest weight in the gym on your first day. You'll fail, get discouraged, and quit. Instead, you start small. You pick one rule and you follow it religiously until it becomes automatic. Then you add another. For me, the first rule I mastered was the stop loss. Every single trade, I placed my stop the moment I entered the position. No exceptions, not even once. And at first, it felt terrible. I'd watch stocks hit my stop, bounce off it like they were mocking me, and then run in the direction I originally predicted. It was infuriating. But I stuck with it because I knew that the few times it saved me from disaster were worth all the times it stopped me out prematurely. After a while, something interesting happened. That stop loss became automatic. I didn't have to force myself to use it anymore. It was just part of how I traded. And once that happened, I could focus my discipline on the next rule. This is how you build an undisciplined trader into a disciplined one, brick by brick, rule by rule. Now, let's talk about ambition, because I don't want you to think I'm telling you to kill your ambition. Your ambition is precious. It's what separates you from the people who dabble in trading as a hobby. You want more. You want to master this game. You want to build wealth, freedom, a legacy. That's beautiful. Don't ever let anyone tell you to dream smaller. But channel that ambition correctly. Ambitious traders often make one critical mistake. They confuse activity with progress. They think that if they're constantly in the market, constantly making moves, they're being productive. They're not. They're just creating noise. I learned to measure my ambition not by how many trades I made, but by how perfectly I executed my system. My goal wasn't to make 100 trades a month. My goal was to wait for 10 perfect setups and execute them flawlessly. That shift in perspective changed everything. Think about it like this. A sniper doesn't spray bullets hoping to hit something. He waits, he calculates, he breathes, and when the moment is right, he takes one perfect shot. That's what a disciplined, ambitious trader does. You're not trying to catch every move in the market. You're trying to catch the moves that fit your system perfectly. And here's where it gets interesting. When you start trading this way, something magical happens to your results. You stop losing money on stupid trades. The ones where you knew you shouldn't have entered but did anyway. The ones where you violated your rules because you were bored or desperate or cocky. Those trades disappear from your record. And when those trades disappear, your win rate improves. Your confidence improves. Your account balance improves. Not because you got smarter or luckier, but because you stopped sabotaging yourself. I kept meticulous records of everything. In my prime, I could tell you the exact moment I entered and exited every significant trade I made, and more importantly, why I made those decisions. This wasn't busy work. This was the foundation of my edge. Because when you review your trades honestly, you see the truth. You see where discipline saved you and where lack of discipline cost you. Let me share something personal with you. In 1929, I made over $100 million shorting the market. You know why? Not because I was smarter than everyone else. Not because I had some secret system. But because I had the discipline to hold my short positions while everyone else was panicking, while everyone else was covering, while even my friends were telling me I was crazy. That discipline didn't come naturally. It came from years of building the habit of trusting my system, of not letting emotions override logic, of being patient when every instinct screamed at me to act. But I also lost fortunes, multiple times, and every single time I lost big, I could trace it back to one thing. I broke my rules. I let ambition override discipline. I thought I was smarter than the market. I thought I deserved to win just because I wanted it badly enough. The market doesn't care what you deserve. It only cares what you do. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, before you make another trade. Write down your rules, not complicated ones. Simple, clear rules that you can follow even when you're emotional, even when you're desperate, even when you're euphoric. Maybe it's 3 rules like I started with. Maybe it's 5. But make them specific and make them non-negotiable. And here's what nobody tells you about this journey. The discipline you build in trading will seep into every other area of your life. Because discipline isn't really about trading. It's about controlling yourself. It's about doing what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. That's a life skill worth more than any amount of money. I want to tell you about the darkest moment in my trading career. It was 1934. I had lost everything again. And I mean everything. I was broke, in debt, and worst of all, I had lost my confidence. I sat in a small room, staring at the wall, wondering if I still had it. Wondering if all my success had just been luck, wondering if I should just give up. But then I remembered something. I remembered the tape. I remembered those early days when I could read the market like a language. I remembered that the principles that made me successful never changed. The only thing that changed was whether I followed them or not. So I made a decision. I would get back in the game. But this time, I would never, ever break my rules again. No matter what. No matter how sure I was, no matter how much pressure I felt, the rules were the rules. That decision saved me. Not immediately, it took time to rebuild, but it saved me because it transformed how I thought about trading. Trading wasn't about being smart or lucky. It was about being consistent. It was about having a system and following it with absolute discipline. And that's the message I need you to hear today. Your ambition is a gift, but without discipline, it's a curse. The market will take everything from you if you let it. It will exploit every weakness, every emotional impulse, every moment of poor judgment. It's not personal. It's just what markets do. Then, commit to following those rules for the next 20 trades. Not perfectly forever, just 20 trades. That's achievable. That's concrete. And after 20 trades of following your rules, review what happened. I guarantee you'll be shocked at how much better your results are. The path from undisciplined to disciplined isn't complicated, but it is hard. It requires you to do something that goes against human nature. Delay gratification. Every time you want to make an impulsive trade and you don't, you're building discipline. Every time you hit your profit target and take your money off the table even though the stock might go higher, you're building discipline. But when you harness your ambition with discipline, you become something rare. You become a trader who can weather any storm, who can take advantage of any opportunity, who can build wealth consistently over time. Not through luck or genius, but through the simple, boring, powerful act of following your system. Let me give you one final piece of advice. And this might be the most important thing I say to you today. The market will always be there. There will always be another trade, another opportunity, another chance. But your capital is finite. Your time is finite. Your emotional energy is finite. Every time you make an impulsive trade, you're spending all three of those precious resources. You're spending money on a low probability setup. You're spending time recovering from the inevitable loss. And you're spending emotional energy dealing with the regret and frustration. But when you wait for the right setup, when you follow your rules, when you trade with discipline, you're investing those resources wisely. You're giving yourself the best possible chance of success. I'm not going to lie to you and say that becoming disciplined is easy. It's not. It's probably the hardest thing you'll ever do as a trader. There will be days when you want to quit. Days when you watch other traders making money on setups you passed on because they didn't meet your criteria. Days when following your rules feels like torture. But I promise you this. On the other side of that struggle is a version of you that can achieve everything you've ever dreamed of in trading. A version that doesn't self-sabotage. A version that sleeps well at night because you know you followed your system. A version that builds wealth consistently year after year. That version of you already exists. It's just waiting for you to build the bridge of discipline to reach it. So here's my challenge to you. Starting today, right now, commit to being that trader. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. One rule at a time, one trade at a time, one day at a time. When you feel the urge to overtrade, remember this video. Remember that every great trader in history has felt that same urge, and the ones who succeeded were the ones who learned to control it. When you want to move your stop loss because you're sure the stock will come back, remember that I've been there thousands of times, and every time I broke that rule, it cost me. Learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same ones I did. You don't have to lose fortunes to learn discipline. You can start building it today. And remember this. Ambition without discipline is a dream that will never materialize. But ambition with discipline? That's an unstoppable force. That's what builds dynasties. That's what creates legendary traders. You have the ambition. I can see it in the fact that you've watched this far. Now build the discipline to match it. Because when those two forces come together in perfect harmony, there's nothing in the markets that can stop you. The tape doesn't lie. The market doesn't lie. And if you're honest with yourself, you know exactly what you need to do. So stop making excuses. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop thinking you'll start being disciplined tomorrow. Start today, right now, this moment. Make one disciplined decision. Place one trade according to your rules. Sit on your hands during one setup that doesn't meet your criteria. That's how it begins. That's how you transform from an ambitious but undisciplined trader into a force of nature in the markets. And when you do, when you finally break through and achieve the consistency you've been dreaming of, you'll look back on this moment and realize this was when everything changed. Not when you learned some new strategy, not when you found some magic indicator, but when you decided to master yourself. That's the real edge in trading. Not information, not speed, not even intelligence. It's self-mastery. It's discipline. And it's within your reach right now. So go out there and trade like the disciplined, ambitious warrior you were meant to be. The market is waiting. Your fortune is waiting. Your legacy is waiting. All that's standing between you and everything you want is the decision to build the discipline to claim it. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your biggest challenge with discipline. What rule do you struggle to follow? Let's build a community of traders who support each other in this journey. And make sure you watch our other videos on this channel. We dive deep into the strategies and mindsets that made me successful, and I want to share all of it with you.